Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're taking a look at another move update in the world of Pokemon Go, Powder Snow being given to XL level 51 Cetoddle. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, a Shapster, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now Cetoddle and its evolution Cetitan do have identical movesets and typing, but in the Great League, Cetoddle has the better stat product, meaning that it's going to be tankier. So today we're going to be taking a look at what Cetoddle can do in the Open Great League with this new move, and if it has any meta play. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's check out Cetoddle in the Great League. Off to a tough start in the first match, Jellicent versus Mandibuzz, the safe switch into Gligar. Opponent is going to bank energy, send in Skarmory, and this match could not be off to much of a worse start. The opponent with zero respect for a Lanturn lead whatsoever, my goodness. Skarmory is going to lose charge attack priority to the Gligar, dig number 2 is going to connect, but Skarmory is a complete wall to energy from the Gligar, shaking off that damage like it's nothing. Sky attack connects. Gligar would love to make the Sky attack, but it's not going to get there. Skarmory gets the farm down. It's nice to bait out the Skarmory, as the pure Ice type Cetoddle would not be a fan of it in the back. But my goodness, this is not an ideal spot, as the Brave Bird is going to connect. And now you just have to hope that Cetoddle is going to be able to sweep in the end game. In comes Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz will be met with the Surf. In comes Cetoddle right off the bat. Its attack animation is absolutely adorable. In the back is Swampert. And this feels like a very winnable game. Cetoddle baits with a body slam, gets the shield from the Swampert. Cetoddle not only getting the successful bait, but having a pretty decent energy advantage as well. Cetoddle over farming quite a bit, going for the body slam bait, losing charge attack priority, committing the shield. A Shadow Hydro Cannon will of course do a lot more than any move from the Mandibuzz. Firing off the body slam bait, opponent is going to double shield. Cetoddle makes it to the Avalanche, and this should be goodbye to the Shadow Swampert. Shadow Swampert is going to get KO'd. In comes the Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz will go for the Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse will connect. Cetoddle going to switch and getting the catch onto the Jellicent. That's a very important catch. The Dark Pulse will pick up the KO. Opponent not going for the undercharge, and that's going to cost them the game, as Cetoddle makes the Avalanche, knocking out the Mandibuzz and taking the game 1 win. Moving to the next match, leading Jellicent into Altaria. This is a very okay matchup for the Jellicent, as Jellicent is going to be able to survive the Dragon Breaths and a charge attack no matter if they throw the Sky attack or if they go for the harder hitting Moonblast. Shadow Ball will connect, doing some pretty substantial damage. Opponent throws as soon as they get to the Moonblast. Jellicent is gonna no shield. It is the Moonblast, the safe switch to the Shadow Gligar, checking to see, do they have a Skarmory? No, but they have a Talonflame, and that's a very important Pokemon to bait out. Being a pure Ice type is going to be a massive drawback defensively for Cetoddle. Cetoddle, as I mentioned at the start, does have more bulk than Cetitan, and it has some incredibly intriguing neutral matchups. A Best Buddy level 51 Cetoddle can actually beat the rank 1 Azumarill in the one shield, which is an absolutely crazy thing for a pure Ice type that has a resisted fast move. But it's extremely difficult to team build around due to the fact that it is going to be the mono Ice type, which is pretty atrocious defensively. We see a banking of the Aerial Ace, the switch to Cetoddle in the back, it's Surfetched, and it's all over for the opponent. Avalanche going to knock out the Surfetched after one more Powder Snow. Opponent sends back in the Altaria, and they resign the match. Moving to the next match, Jellicent versus the Shadow Feraligatr, and this is a problem Pokemon for the team. Shadow Feraligatr, even if it's not running Crunch, is an absolute nightmare for Jellicent to deal with. Feraligatr not throwing on 7 is a bit of a surprise. We are going to see a shield from the opponent. Opponent is going to look to massively overfarm and fire off some energy. The no shield by Jellicent, it is going to be the Crunch, and Crunch will pick up the KO. They have so much energy on this Feraligatr. In comes the Gligar. Gligar forced the shield because this is Shadow on Shadow. Gligar will be able to make the Aerial Ace before they make the next move here, getting to the Aerial Ace, and now the opponent has to commit a shield or they will get knocked out. They are going to protect the Feraligatr. Feraligatr, we're going to see an attempted switch into Cetoddle. They send out a Venusaur, and this is just going to be gone. In comes the Avalanche. Goodbye, Venusaur. What could they have in the back that Venusaur was somehow the best switch in here? They're going to send back in the Feraligatr. They definitely should have just stayed in with the Feraligatr and played it out, because Feraligatr can do quite well, and that's a very unfortunate charge attack priority tie, because the Hydro Cannon is not going to be enough to KO here, but the Cetoddle potentially could have farmed down and left with an Avalanche, whereas now it's not going to be able to get there most likely, and it's going to be a Shadow Swampert in the back. Swampert is going to be hit with the dig, but this is not going to be enough to KO. The Swampert is going to fire off the Hydro Cannon. Now the question will be, can Cetoddle farm down? It's going to be very close here. In comes Cetoddle. Cetoddle just cannot get the farm down. That's very unfortunate there, as Cetoddle will get KO'd, and that unfortunate CMP tie ends up costing the match. Tough lead in the next match, Jellicent versus Galvantula. A safe switch into Cetoddle, answered with Annihilate. And man, safe switching a pure ice type is so risky, but Avalanche is going to hit for massive damage. Opponent is going to fire off energy. I believe this is short of a Shadow Ball. I think it's just 7. It is the Night Slash, doesn't KO, but they get the boost on the Night Slash. And now, even a Night Slash is going to do massive damage to Jellicent. Definitely going to be waiting the clock here, sending back in the Jellicent, and then just hoping to try and sweep with the Gligar. But the opponent has already been double weak to Gligar, so it's unlikely they're going to be triple weak. The boosted Night Slash does quite a lot of damage. Their final Pokemon is revealed to be Mantine. They're going to send in the bulkier option, not wanting to have to commit a shield to Galvantula. But the Shadow Ball landing means that Mantine is in a spot where now it can just get knocked out by Gligar. This is a couple wing attacks plus Aerial Ace range for the Gligar, so you can just send in the Gligar, shield everything the Mantine throws, and understand that Galvantula can only hit for resisted here. So we are going to see a shield. Opponent goes for the Hail Mary Water Pulse. In comes Galvantula, building up to the dig, baiting with the Aerial Ace. Whether they shield or not, this is just game over. They end up calling it, but if you're Gligar, you just never shield this, because this is not the move that's going to knock you out. So you end up no shield in the lunge, you get a full farm down, exiting with a ton of energy, and since the Aerial Ace is at -1, it's not going to be enough to knock out here. So we are going to see another wing attack and Aerial Ace number 2. This one won't quite KO either, but give it a couple wing attacks and it should be enough to pick up the KO. Looks like the opponent has closed the app, and one more wing attack after is going to secure the win. Bit of a tricky lead in the next match, Jellicent versus Shadow Typhlosion. Shadow Typhlosion does have a pacing advantage in this matchup, and it's going to reach the Thunder Punch before Jellicent makes the Surf. Thunder Punch, non-lethal, but would do quite a lot of damage. We will see a shield committed, and now Jellicent is at the back-to-back Surfs. Typhlosion does win Charge Attack priority, however, so we are going to see a switch into the Gligar to catch the Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch is going to be straight 2 for Typhlosion. To make it to the first Blast Burn, they are going to need 3. And we're going to see Gligar, looks like tried to throw 4 wing attacks and a move, but unfortunately the game ended up lagging there, which is a bit rough. Ends up shielding the Typhlosion. It is only a Thunder Punch, but the Thunder Punch landing potentially puts it in range of getting incinerated down. And now we are going to see Gligar finally able to click that Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace is going to be able to KO Typhlosion. Opponent now going to send in a Victory Bell. Victory Bell. Oh no! We see the Aerial Ace reach, but they switch and make a catch onto Bastiodon. And Bastiodon now to be answered with the Jellicent. And Jellicent needs to put in a ton of work, because the Cetoddle is really not going to want to see this Bastiodon whatsoever. Bastiodon will fire off the Stone Edge. Stone Edge won't be enough to KO, however, Bastiodon has basically 0 attack stat. We're now going to see Jellicent at the back-to-back Surfs. Can it survive the Smackdown that went through? The answer is yes. Jellicent barely able to hang on. This Surf will not KO, but it will get Bastiodon deep into the red. Can Cetoddle potentially go for a Powder Snow farm down here? Cetoddle's going to take damage to do so. In comes the Cetoddle, trying to accomplish the impossible. We don't see the farm down, but we see the catch onto the 1 HP Gligar. Beautiful catch there. Opponent sends in the Victory Bell, and Victory Bell is going to fire off its energy. Victory Bell goes for the Leaf Blade. Cetoddle shakes off the damage, and now can return fire with the Avalanche. Avalanche is going to pick up the KO. In comes the Bastiodon. Bastiodon gets KO'd by Cetoddle, and that's a good game. Positive lead in the next match, Jellicent versus Skeledirge. Opponent safe switches into Skarmory, and they are completely core broken by this Jellicent lead. Jellicent is going to stay in here and fire off the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball, no shielded by the Skarmory. We see a switch into Cetoddle, and I genuinely don't mind this. Especially if this is no shielded right here. This is just understanding that Cetoddle is the thing on the team that does not have any play against the Skeledirge. So if you can basically get rid of the Cetoddle, then that way the Skeledirge has nowhere to run versus the team. Opponent is shielding once for a switch. Are they going to double shield here? They double shield for a switch, desperately trying to save the Skeledirge. But there's bad news for the opponent. The Skeledirge winning switch accomplishes nothing because the final Pokemon is going to be Gligar. Jellicent, no shields, what is going to be a Sky Attack. Jellicent now going to be hit with another Charge Attack, and this one is going to be shielded. Skarmory going for yet another Sky Attack. Jellicent able to get the farm down. In the back, it is going to be Serperior, and this is just a very straightforward sweep for the Gligar at this point. The Shadow Ball is going to connect. Jellicent going to stay in and force Serperior to throw energy. Serperior can honestly probably just KO with an Aerial Ace here. They will go for the Frenzy Plant to guarantee the knockout. And now you can just send in the Gligar. Gligar not going to fall for Charge Attack priority there. Gligar will commit the shield as Serperior goes for the Frenzy Plant. In comes the Skeledirge. And it's all over for our good friend Skeledirge. A Shadow Dig from the Gligar picks up the one-hit KO. In comes Serperior, and Serperior will be met with the Aerial Ace. Very nice energy management here on the Gligar, as Gligar is going to KO Serperior and take the win. Moving to the next match, leading Jellicent versus Lanturn. This matchup depends a lot on the fast move. They save switch into Serperior, so my guess is they're probably on Water Gun. We know that Gligar can tank one Frenzy Plant here. Serperior is running Grass Knot. Well, hey, these are battles in the first couple days of a new season, and sometimes you will see some interesting Pokemon and some interesting movesets there. Grass Knot on Serperior. The Legacy move Frenzy Plant is absolutely going to be preferred. There's never going to be a situation where Grass Knot is better, as Frenzy Plant is just an amazing move. So if you have the ability to Elite TM it, it is going to be worth it. We're going to see Gligar able to make one final Aerial Ace into this Serperior, and that is going to be enough to pick up the KO. Lanturn, it looked like to me they were on Water Gun, and they are on Water Gun. And with it being Water Gun, this is actually a very playable matchup for Jellicent. If it was Spark, that would definitely be a massive core breaker for the team, because it would do very, very well into the Cetoddle, as well as doing very, very well into the Jellicent. In the back, opponent has Mantine, and Mantine is a matchup where Cetoddle should just be able to win straight up. We're going to see the Shadow Ball fired into the Mantine. Mantine will be able to return fire with an Aerial Ace, but an Aerial Ace will not be enough to threaten a KO. Jellicent can survive that damage. Jellicent gonna bank the Shadow Ball and switch into Cetoddle. Cetoddle able to absorb the Aerial Ace damage, and now Cetoddle is going to begin to farm up. Again, I just absolutely love its attack animation. Gotta be one of the best they've added in the game. Cetoddle going to be firing off the Body Slam. And the thing about Cetoddle is it's going to be able to get to these body slams very, very quickly. So Cetoddle is going to be able to spam out these body slams versus the Lanturn. Lanturn is going to commit to the farm down, but Cetoddle says no. Cetoddle making it to the body slam, knocking out the Lanturn. Cetoddle says core breaker who? And is able to take the win. Great lead, leading the Jellicent into Talonflame. Opponent safe switches into Hypno, and we're going to see a switch out into Cetoddle. Just trying to find a neutral matchup for Cetoddle so it doesn't get aligned onto the Talonflame. And that, honestly, I do like that play. Like, we've seen this battler do this a couple times, where when they have an opportunity to find some kind of type neutral matchup, they're going to use the Cetoddle there, because being that mono ice type is such a liability defensively, which is really a shame. Like, there's some Pokemon that just have incredible typings, like Skarmory, for example. Being a steel flying type, it has incredible defensive resistances, whereas being mono ice, you're only resisting other ice types, and you have a ton of weaknesses. So even though it has some very nice stats and a truly terrific moveset with Powder Snow, Body Slam, Avalanche, it ends up being extremely hard to team build around and can oftentimes feel a little bit like a liability. In this instance, it does barely lose switch in the twos, but by not revealing the line, the opponent sends an Azu here, and then they actually don't build up to a Play Rough. Even if you're Ice Beam and Hydro Pump, you want to go for Hydro Pump here because it does get the same type attack bonus and it is going to be a better move. But again, in the first couple days of the season, you get a wide variety of opponents. Sometimes you'll get opponents with legend poses that are trying their hardest, they're making perfect plays no matter what, and sometimes you will get newer players who are just learning the game. So in this instance, the Jellicent in a very, very comfortable spot because the Azumarill doesn't have the coverage to hit it for neutral. We're going to see the Surf connect onto the Talonflame, followed by Surf number 2. This is going to be goodbye to the Talonflame. In comes the Azumarill, and the opponent will resign the match. Tough lead in the final match, Jellicent versus Pidgeot. The safe switch into Shadow Gligar. It's a Gust Pidgeot as well, and that's honestly a bit of a blast from the past. Gust used to be the preferred move on Pidgeot, but since Wing Attack got buffed, and there's been an increased reliance on short turn duration fast moves, Wing Attack has definitely become the fast move of choice for Pidgeot. We do see Gligar commit the shield, unfortunately getting baited with the Feather Dance, going for the Aerial Ace. Pidgeot is going to no shield and send out Greninja, and Greninja is going to be a very difficult Pokemon to deal with here. Gligar firing off the Aerial Ace bait, getting the shield from Greninja. Greninja trying for a farm down, and in doing so, they let Gligar make it to another move. The debuffed Aerial Ace not going to do a ton of damage. Greninja has so much energy. This is going to be quite scary. In comes Cetoddle. Cetoddle definitely can survive one Hydro Cannon, but two Hydros probably KO, and they definitely do. Greninja firing off another charge attack. We see the shield from the Cetoddle. It's going to be another Hydro Cannon. Cetoddle farming up, just firing off this Body Slam, doing whatever it can to just force that final shield from the Greninja. Opponent is going to switch out. They try to catch a Body Slam onto Decidueye. They could have stayed in and been fine, but instead they lose the whole Decidueye. And now, just like that, this game is actually going to end in victory. Night Slash is going to connect, but a second Night Slash will barely not KO here. Look at this. Night Slash does so much damage, but that's the thing about Water Shuriken. Water Shuriken is all energy generation, almost no damage, so two Night Slashes almost do enough to KO, but the Water Shurikens can't quite get the farm down, and that's going to end in a win. And now some final thoughts on XL level 51 Cetoddle and Cetitan as well. First off, the moveset is completely amazing. Powder Snow, Body Slam, and Avalanche is about the best you can ask for when it comes to a moveset. It has very consistent pacing. We know from running Frostlass, Powder Snow to Avalanche is going to be 665, and with 10 Powder Snows, you can stack a combination of a Body Slam bait and an Avalanche nuke, which makes very unfun 50-50 bait versus nuke mind games for the opponent. However, that's honestly kind of where the good things about these Pokemon end. And unfortunately, that mono ice typing defensively is such a liability. I actually hosted a Show 6 Pick 3 style tournament the other day. I live streamed the whole thing with a team centered around Cetitan. To be fair, I don't think that I really built a great team to support the Cetitan, but I think honestly building a solid Show 6 team to support it is a very difficult thing to do because of that mono defensive typing. Cetitan, or in this case Cetoddle, which is the bulkier version of it in the Great League, being that mono ice typing, you're going to struggle against a lot of very popular meta things, and it's very difficult to cover for all of those weaknesses. Like on this particular team, it is very, very weak to a Spark Lanturn. Spark Lanturn has play into the entire team, but if you try and cover for Lanturn by, let's say, running something like a grass type, then you end up being way too weak to fire, and so on and so on. So I do think that overall, I really, really like Cetoddle and Cetitan, but unfortunately, it still feels like unless they get a truly overpowering moveset in the future, like Water Shuriken levels of just a completely busted moveset, I really think that despite my high hopes for Cetoddle and Cetitan, that it's not going to see as much meta play as I was hoping for. I did have really high hopes after seeing a lot of the simulations, but it just feels, with that mono ice typing, just so incredibly difficult to team build around. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated, so thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.